on everyone? Myth here. So our build got a little bit of a nerf. Um, they did change this mythic to increase damage done towards monsters. I don't know if the second set or the second part of this works only for monsters. I don't know if your light and heavy attacks will still give random status effects or not, but um, if that does work, then the Warden will probably be the strongest as of right now. If you can still get those status effects on PvP players, I would assume not, but it doesn't say. I mean, it says like increases your damage done towards monsters, but it doesn't say in this section like if you have like it doesn't say monsters either. So not sure, but you can just throw on Oaken Soul, and people are saying that like the werewolf has some of these buffs. Yeah, but it doesn't have all of them. So like yeah, you'll be like overlapping some buffs, but like you're still gonna be getting a ton of buffs that you don't already have. So this is actually pretty solid still. If you don't want to run this, you can run Markin, or you can look into some other mythics. Um, I know 1v1 that head hunters, this right here, the Huntsman War Mask, this is still really going to be really good, strong in 1v1 scenarios. Like, there's still other mythics, to look up and stuff like that. The build is still viable. This is the second set. I know a lot of people were saying that, the build's like nerf, like, why'd you post it? Posted the build a day before, which I had no idea a patch was coming out to nerf this, so it just kind of is what it is. But this second set right here, Shared Pain, get it from Cyrodiil. Pretty solid set. You get a line of crit resist, 2 lines of weapon and spell damage, and whenever you are dealt damage from a damage over time ability, you deal 110 magic damage to the attacker. This effect scales off higher weapon and spell damage, and it reduces your damage taken from damage overtime abilities by 8%. So this is actually really strong, really good for dot builds and things like that. Um, you can, like I said, you can still use Serpent of Stain. Like the werewolf still has status effects it can apply by itself with its skills. So right here, you get hemorrhaging. I believe you also get sundered. Yeah, chance to apply sundered. I think this applies sundered too. One of these applies sundered. Yeah, so this right here has a chance to apply um, sundered status effect, and then you can also run on your weapons. Like I have frost and flame, so you could run disease on this or whatever, and you could still make it work. It's just not going to be as strong. So it kind of like it is what it is. The werewolf is still strong. Like it's not like the build's completely dead or anything like that. You just gotta swap out the mythic. Um, anyways, the main thing I wanted to get to is somebody was asking about these class mastery passives, and these are the best two for sorcerer for a werewolf, specifically because I believe these are the only two you can kind of really use that are kind of like actually like beneficial. So this one says this works with all abilities with the cost, excluding cost per tick abilities. So anytime I use an ability, I'm gonna get back 443 magicka and 487 stamina, and this scales off your max mag and your max stam. The second one we went with, and this is just kind of like a whatever. When you deal damage, you have a 5% chance to deal 2,381 shock damage, um, up to once every zero point 0.3 seconds. And the chance increases by 1% for every 1% missing health the target has. Um, chance is divided by 1 plus every permanent pet you have active. So I don't know if these two wolves count as a permanent pet. I haven't tested it. I don't know, but the other mastery, you need to use a sorcerer ability, so that's not going to work because you're going to be in werewolf form, so that doesn't work for us. And then while trying to use a sorcerer ability or an ability with a cost, with a cast time, you gain a damage shield. We don't really have abilities that have a cast time unless you are using the claws that have like a cast time. Um, so this is kind of useless. And then casting a damage shield on yourself, you don't have any damage shields as a werewolf, so these are pretty. This is pretty useless. like I said, this one you need a sorcerer ability. I don't know if this still works while you're in werewolf form. I would assume it doesn't because you're using werewolf abilities. So yeah, these two, this is just kind of your random damage. It'll proc when it procs, and then this is actually really good for sustaining. Yeah, so that's about it for the Sork. I'm gonna go swap over to my Warden. And we're back in our Warden, and this is probably the reason why this mythic and people were complaining to get this nerfed so bad. The Warden probably was the strongest werewolf up until this nerf. So you gain 333 weapon and spell damage for each status effect on your target, up to a maximum of 1665. So if I go to my character sheet right here, I have 6'4" weapon damage, and on this tune, I was still like working on leveling him up. I don't even have these skill points in that like boost my penetration and weapon and spell damage. Like I don't even have those passives. That puts me at 8,000 alone just off of like this little setup I have here. That's like insane. So that's probably why this mythic really needed a nerf. Mainly for the Warden. Like the Warden kind of really had the perfect setup for the Shattered Path. Being able to get up to 1665 weapon spell damage is absolutely insane. Even the 333 is still absolutely insane. Like if you have 2 status effects on them, which you can keep on pretty much 100% of the time, that's 660. Like that's crazy. So, and then on the other side of it, reduce your damage taken by 3% for every status effect active on your attacker, up to a maximum of 15%. So not only are you able to get 1,600 extra weapon and spell damage, you get 15% damage reduction for having all those status effects. So while you're doing more damage, you're taking less damage. So the Warden was probably the #1 werewolf up until that that nerf. It's still pretty strong. Like Sork and Warden are still up there because you can still apply status effects. So like this right here, it says for each status effect on your target, the werewolf can put on 2 status effects. So if you go right here, we get hemorrhaging right there. So that's 1 status effect. So that's 333 weapon and spell damage right there. And then Rip and Tear is going to apply Sundered. So that's 666 weapon and spell damage. And that's not even counting if, you know, on our weapons, if we go... I have 2 maces here, but I went weapon and spell damage here, and I went sharpen with flame. It should be charged, but... So that's 3. So that's almost 1,000 weapon spell damage every time this flame damage procs. And then if I were to put another one, like a disease enchant on here, that'd be like 1,300. Like, it's just... And I'm taking less damage. So, yeah, they did nerf the Shattered's Path. They just made it like a little less, you know... You have to actually apply your status effects now and like get them to proc the normal way. But you're not going to get, you know, random status effects and stuff like that. But the werewolf is still strong. Like I said, you can literally just put on Oaken Soul, or you can run Markin, whatever you want to play around with, or if you want to try out a different mythic, you know, that's up to you. Yeah, so that's going to be my top 2 for a werewolf. So if you guys are looking to make a werewolf, Warden is really strong and Sork is really strong. It kind of just depends on what you're going for, but the builds are definitely still viable. You know, you're just gonna have to tweak it a little bit and change the mythics and stuff like that. But yeah, so that's all I got for you guys today, and I'll catch you in the next one.